My name is Stevenson-Douglas, and I want to say welcome to this year's President's Address. We really do want to do a good job of communicating with you, our friends, our alumni, our financial supporters, our ministry partners, and those who might be parents or relatives of the college. We recognize that we have a growing constituency, a growing community outside of our current staff and student body. And so I want to say thank you for taking the time tonight to watch either live as we do this here now on Monday the 11th, I believe it is today, or if you're watching this recording later. I want to start with just a quick story, though, and this is what was coming through before we just sorted out those audio issues. And that is, I was in a conversation with the parent of one of our current students last week. We weren't discussing the student. The student's been here for a couple of years and is working their way through a program. And we were just talking about some ministry partnership opportunities. And after the conversation had progressed for a little while, we finished our business, our meeting was over, and this parent just said, hey, I just want to stop you just for a minute and say thank you. I want to say thank you for what I've seen transpire in my child's life. This person is in full-time ministry. They had done pastoral ministry in a local church and had moved on to another nonprofit, and they just said, before our child enrolled at your college, we had no context for who Eston College was. And I had a mixed experience in Bible college, he said. We could not be more thrilled that our child has come to Eston College. We've seen their faith grow in leaps and bounds. We've seen their leadership capacity extend. We've seen their passion for the ministry of God, in the mission of God, rather, grow. And we're just so thankful for the time and the effort that you put in. Now, I don't start with that story just to say, look at how great we are. We are going to talk about our recent impact and fruit in just a few minutes. I start with that story because it is the kind of feedback that we are looking for. We are, as we have been since 1944, in the business of working with students to see their lives transformed so that they would become more like Jesus. We want to see Bible-centered, Spirit-filled, on-mission students graduated from Eston College. And there is a crucial window in the lives of young people and emerging adults, typically in their early 20s or as they're making transition into a new career, when they often look for a little extra guidance or a little bit of extra training, and that's where Eston College specializes. And we know today, now more than ever, that season of identity formation, like I said, in a transition period or as people move from high school into young adult years, is absolutely critical for a person's faith and development. And so when we can stand at that crossroads and invite emerging leaders and young people into a transformative experience with the scriptures, the power of God, and the mission of Jesus, then we have done our job. So that's what we're here to talk about tonight. So what can you expect out of what's going to go on this evening? I'm going to take you through three basic sections. Number one is we're going to look at how are we doing on our new campus. We are almost done our first year of operation here in Regina. And the short answer there is that God is at work. We are continuing on in our mandate, and the stage is set for growth. I'm going to talk about that as we look to the future. We're also going to talk about what direction is God pointing in. Right now, we're in the middle of a strategic planning cycle for the next 5 years. So what's the mission? What's the values? What's the ongoing work that Eston College is doing? You can come up to speed on that. And finally, what's new looking forward? And that's going to be more the details, maybe the nitty-gritty of programming and projects that we have coming up. And at each one of these stages, I'm going to invite you to speak back into us. If you're sitting there on your computer, you're watching on a laptop or a home computer, you can just open up a new browser window, and we actually have a number of polls and kind of surveys that are built into this evening, and that you will be able to respond back to us. You can also use your cell phone. We've got QR codes on the screen for that. And those will just be short 2 or 3 minute questionnaires as we go through so that you can respond to this. I also have a couple of my staff members standing by running the live feed who will be able to see the live feed as you may respond on Facebook or on YouTube or the different places where we are live feeding from right now. I won't be able to see those questions. That's not what the purpose of that chat is, but we want to hear from you. This is a two-way conversation. So having said all that, let's get started and look back at this first 7 months that we've been here in Regina. We're going to start with fruitfulness. So first of all, we continue to offer essentially the same programming that we did when we were in Eston. People have asked a number of times, and our accrediting body, the ABHE, recently visited the campus and say, what's changed? Well, the core of what Eston College is remains the same. There is a high level of continuity with what we're doing. We still offer our biblical studies degree, our Christian ministry degree, our other two bachelors of arts, and we've delivered over 25 courses this year. We remain committed to being a Bible college, a ministry training base, and a launch pad for the next generation of missional disciple makers. But we've also been doing lots of offsite ministry. We run our programming so that students complete 10 courses a year, like a regular college, university, or trade school. But as many of you know, we do modular courses. What that means is rather than being in 5 classes at a time and having homework steadily spread out over maybe a 12 or 15-week semester, we do 3-week modulars where in the first week, students are in class getting deep instruction with qualified instructors who come from all over Canada. Then in that second week, from anywhere from about 3 to 6 days, students are deployed on ministry events. We've done ministry now in the 4 western provinces, all the way from Ontario to BC, and in about 30 different churches and communities. I ran in just last week. I was at a pastor's gathering here in the city. Some people were in from out of town, and they said, oh, I've heard of Eston College. Actually, we had a team of your students in our town a few months ago, and it was just a small town where we had some students deployed, and they partnered with another church who had never encountered us before. So if you're a student at Eston College right now, we believe in the power of apprenticeship, Jesus' model of making disciples. He took his 12 with him on ministry trips. So although we want to go into that excellent classroom learning, deep academics, of course we continue doing that. We combine that with hands-on academic training. And as I said, that's taken place lots this year, lots of offsite ministry. We also continue on with our extracurricular discipleship. Now that we are in the city of Regina, but 1/3 of our chapels are open. We have people, anywhere from about 50 to 70 people join us typically for an open chapel. So we run that as an event for the community, and we have people coming from all kinds of different backgrounds and churches, sometimes from out of town, sometimes in town, sometimes with guest speakers, sometimes with in-house speakers, and we have loved worshiping with the wider community. Also, our students are living right on the University of Regina campus. Yes, we have dorms located in Luther College Student Village. It's about a 15-minute walk from the church here, the Regina Apostolic Church, where our administrative offices, our library, and our classrooms are all located. So students can come back and forth from there, but what that does is that affords them an opportunity to share their faith, to meet other college and university-age people, and to interact and enact the mission of God while they're here at Bible College. We said before the move that we wanted to move from a posture of more isolation to teach the Bible, and now into a posture of engagement to teach the Bible. And of course, we're also partnering with lots of local churches. We'll talk about that in a minute. In terms of hosting, we had our first conference in November called Behold. It was 40 hours of unbroken prayer and worship, and we were happy with the collaboration of that event. Junior High Encounter was last month. And now we haven't kept detailed records since the inception of Junior High, but since my time in 2006, I can say that this was the largest junior high we have had. So that's been about 18 years, a record that we broke there. Thankful for our partners in Moose Jaw. That was hosted at Hillcrest Apostolic Church. We had a fantastic time there, and we look forward to 2 more conferences. Encounter Senior High in just over a week, actually, about 2 weeks from now. And right after graduation, we'll be hosting Refresh Young Adults Conference. So we're collaborating very closely with Regina Apostolic Church. Our students are embedded in several ministries here, and we're thankful for that collaboration. It has gone very smoothly to share this facility. As a matter of fact, one of their staff members was here helping us to set up the tech for this. So Brandon, if you're listening, thank you so much for your help. You've been an absolute lifesaver. But we also have local partnerships with a number of other churches in the community. Gateway is another ACOP church, and we've been happy to partner with them in different ways. We're building relationship there, but also outside of the Apostolic Church of Pentecost with all different kinds of evangelical churches, charismatic churches, Pentecostal churches, and ministries as well. So right now, we are building relationships with about 10 local congregations really intentionally that would have that kind of back and forth, and we're looking to see that number grow. And of course, we continue to pour into regional and national partnerships. Our main partner is the Apostolic Church of Pentecost, ACOP. We are a multi-denominational school, so we serve lots of different networks and denominations. And in the last 12 months, we've started conversations with 3 other networks or denominations about becoming either one of or their only official Bible college. The reason that we are seeking those relationships is, first of all, because we sense that the Holy Spirit is saying this is a season of collaboration, not just for us, but for the church at large. This is a time when Christ is interested in seeing his kingdom expand beyond the 4 walls of the church, as he always is, and to reach Canada and the nations for Christ. We don't believe that we can do that alone as a Bible college. We don't believe we're meant to do that alone. So these partnerships mean that we can lend our strengths to different organizations, individuals like yourself even, and also receive the strength of those partners as well. And always the big question that we get asked is about enrollment and finances. So we have a bit of a changing student body. Our enrollment did dip a little bit when we moved to Regina. That was something that we expected. We actually thought that we were prepared for it to drop as low as 20 when we moved, simply because of the monumental nature of this change. Now, the long-term vision is that being in Regina will be a recruitment opportunity for us. Why? I know that when I came to college, what feels like a long time ago now, a generation ago, the trend was to try and move away from home. People were looking for that experience far away. And even a generation before that, it was very normal to move across the country or even internationally for Bible college. That trend has drastically changed in the last 5 or 6 years. Students are looking to be close to where they live, or if not close to where they live, close to amenities that they're looking for. So we're hoping that as we build these relationships in Regina and continue to strengthen our historical relationships within ACOP and at other churches, that enrollment will grow. So we started the year off with about 37 students, many of them part-time. So what we've seen grow significantly since moving from Eston to Regina is that we're having more and more people do 1 or 2 classes a semester because we're just nearby to them. We've also seen a couple of other mature students jump on, and we'll get into this in a little bit later. But as Eston College Online offers full credit online classes, then there's an opportunity to finish programs for people who can't move to Regina and be with us on campus. So this is, I would say, our area of greatest vulnerability. If you are praying for us or if you're actively supporting Eston College, please refer students to the college. If you're praying for us, pray that students would be called to Eston College, that we'd be connected with the right students for this college and in this ministry. That's where we're at right now. Other things that have been going on is next year probably our budget will decrease. Expenses in the city are lower overall than they were in a rural context. So we saw about $150,000 worth of savings when we moved from our own buildings to now what we're doing here, between renting at U of R and leasing here and working alongside Regina Apostolic Church. So how have finances gone? This was a pretty big act of faith. When I spoke to staff members who were at FGBI for multiple decades, and I asked the question of why they didn't move when they made those votes in the past, the number one reason that was spoken back to me during our discernment process is they said, we were afraid that we wouldn't be able to afford living in a city and that Eston would be cheaper. We have found that not to be the case. We're able to pay our staff a little bit better than we were before and need to a little bit better than we were before. And so some of the savings that we made from not having to put so much into infrastructure and building is being transferred to staff. But we also found that there was a significant increase in the quality of our facilities when we moved here as well for a lower price. And I'll get into that in just a minute. God has been faithful this year. Every time that we have come to kind of the end of our financial runway, so to speak, somebody has stepped in, and twice anonymous donors have come with large enough checks to either pay months of our operating budget or 1 month at a time. And if you are one of those people, thank you. Thank you for doing that. God has been faithful to us. I often tell people financially, it feels like we are walking on water. And Jesus is meeting us every step of the way, providing for us. But sometimes you can't tell whether that next step is going to be liquid or solid. So far, it has been absolutely great. So what remains is between now and May 1st, we have another $37,000 to raise. And we are confident that God will provide that money and that we will have those resources needed. And another $250,000 before August 31st. Now that seems like a huge number, but we are also right now processing a conditional offer on the last property that we own in Eston, and that is the apartment building just off of Main Street that was formerly known as Kentwood. That apartment is still for sale. It's a conditional offer. We're waiting on finances and inspection and things like that. If it goes through, it will pay a huge portion of what we need to operate for the rest of the year and seed some money into the future. But if you are interested or know someone interested who is looking for a very affordable investment property, please contact info@estoncollege.ca for more information, or you can go to estoncollege.ca/apartment. Finally, facilities. As I already said, there's been a drastic improvement this year in our facilities. We have major improvements in the areas of teaching tools, meeting spaces, IT, internet accessibility, dorm quality, conference space, and sports and wellness facilities. Our students have access to all of the sports and wellness facilities at the U of R campus for a discounted student rate, the same that a University of Regina student would get. We have a gym now, and I know for many of you as alumni, the big dream for Eston College FGBI was to have a gym one day. Well, now we do. We finally fulfilled that dream as well. I would say the only two areas where we've experienced a bit of a hard transition or a disappointing transition in some ways is the cafeteria and library. Now, having said that, Regina Apostolic Church has been wonderful to us, making sure that we have the spaces we need for library and cafeteria. It's just not quite as broad or as cozy as what we had in Eston is all I mean. But it is more than adequate for our current needs and more than adequate for our college to grow. Here's a few pictures of what it looks like. On the bottom left-hand corner, you can see that's the entrance, the foyer. In the middle bottom, you see the sanctuary where we're recording from here tonight. Bottom right, this is our freshman class studying this fall, I believe. And so that's one of our classrooms where people can come. And in the top right, you can see one of our other classrooms where we do more seminar-style classes, really comfortable in there. And then top left is a picture of one of the dorm rooms in Luther Student Village. That's where students live now here at Eston College. So now it's your turn. I'm going to mute my microphone for about 2 minutes. So if you go to estoncollege.ca/lookback, then you will be able to, or you can use the QR code in the bottom left-hand side of your screen. You will be able to give us your feedback on what you just heard as we talk about this first year. Now, I want to invite you back. I know that's a short amount of time, but you can leave that window open and continue to respond. There's going to be a couple of other response opportunities as we move forward. Now, what I want to do is just look again at our mission and our core or our essential values. And right after this slide, there's going to be another opportunity to respond. So many people have asked, has there been a shift in teaching philosophy or emphasis or mission or mandate? The short answer is no. In coming to Regina, we are attempting to fulfill what has been our mandate from the beginning. Many of you would be familiar with what was our motto for a long time and was often mistaken as our mission statement that we've made into our mission statement now. So the mission of Eston College is equipping students to know the scriptures and the power of God, and we've shifted that in the last 2 years, to further the Great Commission. So from that mission of equipping students to know the scriptures and the power of God to further the Great Commission, we have 3 essential or core values. Number 1 is that we are radically committed to the Word. So that is faithfulness to the Bible, joyful obedience to the Bible, biblical orthodoxy. We want to teach the Bible well. We want students to know good and living and life-giving theology that is derived from the words of Scripture. We will not violate that. We will hold to that through any iteration of this college. Our second essential value is spirit, and that is walking in the fullness of the Spirit-filled life. It is essentially important to us that not only do we talk about the gifts and the fruit of the Spirit, signs, wonders, miracles, healing, deliverance, etc., but that is a lived reality here on our campus. We want our students to come and, yes, to know God, but also to taste the goodness of the manifest presence of Jesus. So that second core value is spirit. And finally, mission. We believe that mission can be combined with training, and that if you spend too many years, too many months away from the mission of God, even when you are studying well, your head is in the books, your head is in the Bible, you are in the prayer room, that you actually, those muscles kind of atrophy a little bit. Those disciple-making, gospel-sharing muscles can atrophy. So as I already explained, all of our students are engaged in ministry apprenticeship from day one, regardless of their programs. They don't wait for their third-year practicum or their fourth-year internship before they get engaged in ministry. And so mission to us means making reproducing disciples in any and all environments that they find themselves in. Word, spirit, and mission are what set Eston College aside. This is what makes us unique. This is our spiritual DNA. So again, I'm going to turn it back to you. You have about 2 minutes here to respond and say to a couple of questions that we framed about our mission and our values. You can go ahead and fill that out now. So once again, I know that's a pretty short period of time to make some of your responses, but if I can call you back now, those forms to make your responses aren't going anywhere. They will stay there, and you can complete your responses a little later if you didn't have time to do it just now. So next, we want to turn to our new vision statement. I'm actually going to take that off the screen just for a moment. We are in the middle of a 5-year strategic planning process. We've completed the move. We made the change to modular classes. We've added 25% mission into our programming. We've launched Eco Eston College Online. We've been through a number of these changes in the last 3 years. And now that we've completed those things that the Lord's given us to do, we are looking forward. And staying with the mission and the values that we have already had, now we've been crafting a vision statement. And now this is your opportunity to speak into the vision of Eston College. What we want to see happen is not only transformation within our students, not only institutional thriving and surviving, but we want to catalyze change outside of Eston College. We want your church to be better because people are coming to Eston College. We want your community to be served because people are graduating from Eston College. We want the unreached around the world to be reached because of the ministry of Eston College. So here I will read this statement and highlight a couple of things. Our vision is to develop spirit-filled, word-centered students who glorify Jesus and multiply disciples in every environment. I think we've talked about that section enough. We desire to be a source of visible unity, extraordinary prayer, and increased collaboration between ministries, which gives birth to a growing renewal in both rural and urban communities. A couple of quick comments that I want to make there. Why we included that in our vision is because that visible unity and extraordinary prayer are two factors that have been identified by historians like Dr. Orr, who wrote The Flaming Tongue, and other people who studied revivals. They said that revival is often preceded by visible unity and extraordinary prayer. So not only do we want to be that internally as a college, but we also want to be a force for that in our partners. We want to be a gathering place for people who come from different streams and different movements. Also, I know that there's a few people in our constituency who felt that now that we're not rurally located anymore, that we're not serving people rurally anymore. And that's just not the case. We continue to partner with small town churches, small town ministries. In fact, the majority of our ministry travel is still to small town locations. And so we want to specify that our vision is for rural and urban communities as we go forward. Continuing on. We dream to activate evangelists and spiritual pioneers across the country, leading to flourishing leaders, filling established ministry positions, youth ministries launched and revitalized, churches planted, workers sent to the unreached, and more. Okay, so why these things? Why evangelists, spiritual pioneers, etc.? We live in a time right now where the Barna Group is reporting that only approximately 17% of people in full-time church ministry positions are under the age of 40. 17%. And the vast majority of those people who are in, over 50%, are over the age of 55. What that means is in the next decade, and we've actually begun to see it already, we're seeing massive retirement and massive vacancies in ministry. We, the capital C Church, the movement of Christ in Canada, need evangelists to see the lost saved and people come back, not just to church, but to Christ himself. And we need spiritual pioneers to be like the sons of Issachar, to understand the signs of the times and to respond strategically and spiritually to the needs of our country and the world. So that's what we want to go to. We want leaders to fill established ministry positions in vacant pulpits around the country. We especially want to see youth ministries relaunched and revitalized because of what we're seeing take place among youth. We want to see new churches planted, and we want to see workers sent to the unreached across the world. And we said and more because, of course, what Christ is doing can't be summed up in a single small mission statement. This is one sentence that we crammed all that into. So that's why those particular things. Furthermore, we believe our graduates will flood into careers of all kinds, bringing with them this culture of deep biblical knowledge and spiritual clarity in our churches and families. We continue to have freshman students come who, although going to church for, in some cases, 18 years of their lives, have never actually read the Bible for themselves. They can't identify Old and New Testament books. They don't know the names of the disciples. They've never read the crucifixion account for themselves. They don't know why asking Christ into their heart, so to speak, is even an act of salvation. The level of biblical literacy that we have with our incoming students is actually decreasing. And we are able to compare our college to about 63,000 other students in North America, how our students are doing. And when they start at Eston College, at the beginning of their first year, their biblical knowledge is lower than the international average. But I'm pleased to say that by the time they leave, when we re-administer those tests and compare the numbers again, that our students score well above average on their outgoing tests, even after only 1 year. And so we want to see biblical literacy and spiritual clarity restored to our students so that when they go as parents, employees, ministers, volunteers, on to further education, wherever they may go from here, they bring that culture into churches and families. We are all called to make disciples. We want all of our students to be disciple-making students. Finally, by joining with God's new movement, we desire to become a catalyst for revival in post-Christian Canada and around the world. So what do we mean by that? Post-Christian Canada. I've actually had some pushback on that language from some of my friends who are intercessors. What I mean by post-Christian Canada is that we are down to, according to most Stats Canada research, only about 4% of Canadians practicing Christian faith on a week-to-week basis. But still about 65% of Canadians would confess Christianity as their spiritual belief system. So what that tells me is that there are a vast number of, first of all, people in the country who have grown disillusioned from or have never heard the gospel before. But next, that there are many nominal Christians in our country who need to be reached. We are in an age where the culture is no longer, could not be called Christian in Canada. And I don't think that's a surprise to anyone listening to my voice this evening. So we want to catalyze a movement. I have referred to him saying this to me before, but Brother Bob Stone, who passed away this Christmas, and we mourn him and are just so thankful for his impact, his legacy in our college. He said to me about a year and a half ago that the revivals that led to the creation of FGBI are over, and that filled FGBI during the Jesus People movement in the 70s. They're over. And I said to him, Bob, what should we do? And he said, Sean, honestly, I don't know, except that I know that you can't ride revival anymore. You have to start one. That was what he said to me. So this particular line for us has become a bit of a rallying call to say we want to catalyze revival, but by joining with God. Revival is not a function of something that we can somehow call down by our good efforts or our slick communications or anything else like that. Revival, drawing people to Christ, is a function that we can partner with God in, but we are not sovereign. He is sovereign, and we want to get behind him. So now it's your turn. We're going to give you 2 or 3 minutes once again to respond to the vision of Eston College. This is still a draft, so we are open to these things being changed. All right, once again, you may not have had time to respond all the way that you would like to, but those forms will remain open for you to respond at your convenience. Finally, looking forward. A movement with a college. This is language that we've been using for the last 2 years. Rather than a college at the center of a constituency, we would like to see ourselves, you, our friends, our alumni, our supporters, our denominational and ministry partners, as a movement of God's people that has a college. We want you to feel a level of ownership over the future of Eston College. And so yes, that does mean financial support and referring students. Those are two crucial areas. But also we want to understand what the mind and the heart of our alumni and our partners really is. We want to be a place where you can be confident that students are being served and that when you have a need that would fit with the kind of mission that this Bible college has, that we could supply that need for you. We want to be a place that serves you and your church really, really well. So together, we're facing obstacles and promise. Right now, a study came out earlier this year from the Association for Biblical Higher Education, ABHE, and they said that Bible college attendance in Canada has dropped by 55% since 2017. 55%. The enrollment at our college shows almost exactly that number. It'd be right around 45, 50% since that time. This college cannot continue in its current state without a broad and enthusiastic constituency. And as I said, we want to serve you well and we want to go on ministry well together. At the same time that we face these significant obstacles, the ones that are financial, the ones that are social, the ones that are legislative, we don't have time to cover it tonight, but even things like our ESL program, facing some challenges because of federal policies that have come up. As we face these challenges, we're also aware of a growing number of opportunities. Now more than ever, young people need to be trained to know the scriptures and the power of God. Now more than ever, emerging leaders need to be prepared for what they are going to face in ministry, and many of them are already in ministry and need to be equipped for the experiences that they're having and the things that they're being demanded of them where they're already doing ministry. So if you want, and you and your friends want Eston College to continue, can we become a movement together? So what this looks like is next year, over the next 2 years, we're planning to launch some new programming. Number one is a worship track. This will be a 3-year program that's intertwined with our biblical studies program, led by Deeper Life Ministries. That would be Adam Tisdale and Josh Parkman, among others. There's many others contributing to that, and our very own Jody Scholler as well. We're excited about that worship track. We're seeing momentum there in the creation of the Prairie Worship Collective, a network of about 120 worship leaders across the western provinces. And we are at the very center of that and looking forward to training the next generation of worship and prayer leaders. Number two is a college on-ramp. So John Fisher, who's local here, has made a proposal to us to have a program where the academics are dialed back a little bit so that we can dial up the spiritual formation and the ministry training. So what that would look like is for people who want to spend even less time in the classroom, they would take a total of 3 courses over the semester, and that extra time that's freed up would be spent learning to do ministry in on-site ministry contexts. Number 3 is a children and youth ministry track. We've discovered that most of the Bible colleges across Canada that historically had children and youth ministry programs have canceled them. And we continue to have alumni from and partners from around Canada asking us for children's and youth ministry programming. And not only that, but I'm watching as junior and senior high youth groups and camps are growing. There's only a greater need for workers in the harvest field of young people in Canada, so we're hoping to meet that need. And finally, a multiplicative discipleship certificate. What do we mean there is that there's an approach to ministry. How do we reach the people who would never come to church? And so we want to train them in the way that we would have done ministry in Turkey or in another restricted access nation where we take the gospel to an oikos, a community of people, plant the gospel there and teach them how to make disciples who make disciples who make disciples to the 4th generation. So this is a 2-year guided experience that is part-time. So you don't leave your work and ministry context, you stay in it, and over 2 years you are coached by some of the world's most experienced movement leaders in how to host, encourage, and participate in a multiplicative discipleship movement. And finally, we've launched a new fundraising campaign called the Barnabas Initiative. I'm not going to talk about that a whole lot this evening, but we're looking for a new way to fund the college so that we can offer more bursaries to students so that they can graduate debt-free. You can go to estoncollege.ca/Barnabas if you want more information there, but I also know that I've been communicating quite a bit about that lately. Finally, we are relaunching ECO. We're not getting rid of what exists on Eston College Online or econline.ca, our online platform. That's going to remain there. We have students in that right now. Some of those classes have already seen about 80 or 90 students go through them. We're thankful for that. That was the brainchild of Josh Chalmers when he worked here a few years ago, and we've continued that on. But we're seeing a growing demand for 4-credit classes. What ECO is currently uncredited courses, so that you can just do them as a small group or as personal development, that sort of thing. This is going to be 4-credit. And there's going to be a lot more information coming out about that shortly, but we're really excited about some of the innovations that we're making there so that students and emerging leaders like you can study at Eston College without leaving where you are. This is the last chance that you get to respond to us, and we're going to conclude with a few more comments at the very end as we look forward. But we're going to take about 2 minutes so that you can respond. So thank you so much for sticking with us this far or joining us midstream. Either way, we appreciate it. We are coming to a close now. So you're going to have time to log off and finish filling in any of those forms. Thank you to those of you. We've had quite a few responses pour in already. Thank you for joining us this evening. I do have one last thing of substance that I want to say before just thanking you and signing off. And that is that I am aware that sometimes it feels like Eston College is really far away. And it might even feel like we don't care to hear what you think. It might even feel like we are putting no effort into communication. I want to tell you one story that was a bit of a tragicomic kind of thing that happened. We were about to make an announcement earlier this year, and of course last year, with the move, we had all kinds of communications that went out. I did 16 different town halls as far east as Fredericton, New Brunswick, and as far west as probably Calgary. And and then many online in Eston, throughout Saskatchewan, et cetera, et cetera. We sent out several email blasts to our entire email database, and we did our best to communicate. Just after Christmas, we found out that because of the email sending service that we were using, that almost all of the emails that we were sending were bouncing back from your inbox. So we have rectified that. We have a new email communication list, and based on the feedback from about 400 alumni surveys that we've done over the last 2 years. By far, people are saying that the best way to communicate is email. And so we're doing our best to connect that way. And so actually one of the things, it's not really on a strategic plan per se, and it's not an exciting new program, but we just want to do a better job of trying to connect with you. So if you know former students, parents, ministry partners, partner churches of Eston College that feel like they've been outside the circle of communication, just know that we are working hard to reverse that problem. We want it to be very clear what we are doing, what we are thinking, what we are valuing, and how you can partner with us, how we can partner with you. And so 2 things that you can do is subscribe to the Alumni Network newsletter if you are a part of the Alumni Network. In this next year, one thing that we would like to change is to create more spaces for alumni to connect with one another, because right now that's a college to alumni connection, but we want to create alumni to alumni connections as well. But subscribe to the Eston College mailing list. We are now sending out weekly short emails, about a paragraph long, and then every month or 2, a longer, more in-depth communication on those mailing platforms. We will continue to do our spring mail-out, the Life newsletter. That's once a year, and that's a thorough, longer communication. That will continue to come to your mailbox. You'll continue to get mail-outs from us in the fall and around tax season, of course, as well. And we're going to keep doing that. There's also going to be more opportunities. We would love to have you come and join us for grad. We are doing a grad banquet. That is the weekend of the 27th. Grad is on the Saturday. You can go to our website for more information there. But come and celebrate with another generation of Eston College. Come and celebrate the first time that we graduate students from this new campus. If you're a social media user also, we're on Facebook and on Instagram. You can follow us there. There's always updates and kind of fun pictures there. And we're on YouTube as well. We want to communicate with you. I want to return back to what I said at the beginning. Our mission really hasn't changed. People have asked me a number of times in this last year, especially in this new context, what do you think the founders would think of what you are doing? And I know, interestingly, that one of them, at least, and as I'm here in the Regina Apostolic Church, there used to be Queen City Bible Institute here in this very church, where Lauren Pritchard was a student and then later taught, and he would go on and start Jubilee Bible College in Vancouver because he, among others, believed that we needed to be among people as we taught the Bible. And I also think when I think about Ron Birdside and G.S. McLean and these other founders, maybe some of them would agree with what we've done, maybe some wouldn't. But do you know what I think we would have in common? Is that our heart is for Jesus to be glorified, for the scriptures to be truly understood as God intended them to be understood, and then lovingly obeyed. That we would be a people who teach the next generation to conform their lives, their ministries, their leaderships, their families, their business to the Word of God, and to allow the Holy Spirit to break into every sphere of influence that they have and the deepest parts of their hearts. I know that the values of Word, Spirit, and mission are ones that we have, that I have, because I stand on the shoulders. We stand on the shoulders of those founders and those establishers who have continued to serve us, and many of them who are still living continue to serve around the world now because of those principles and values. So that's what I believe. We want Eston College to continue. The Lord has spoken to us about what He wants us to do. The Lord has spoken to us about this time in our country and around the world. And so the question remains, will you be willing to partner with us as we go forward? So thank you so much for listening tonight. In terms of a call to action, I would just ask, if you know other people who are wondering about what's going on at Eston College, refer them to this recording. They can come and check this out. We keep our website up to date, but also you can contact the college at 306 789-1235, or you can email info@estoncollege.ca. Thank you so much, and bless you.